Looks like we're live. So let me know in the chat if there's a sound or image problem. So you're looking at the ruined surface of the Earth with a hex grid over it. So I'll explain what this is shortly. So hey Joe, hey K5, let's get this started. So welcome to another unboxing. And this week we are taking a look at Tsukuyumi. So Tsukuyumi Full Moon Down. So let me show you the box here. Boom. It's a big old box. So this is actually the second edition of Tsukuyumi. The original one, I think published in 2018, came with cardboard stand-ups. And they're all featuring the art of Felix Murdercat. And he is, a very talented comic artist illustrator. And this is an update to that game, which includes plastic miniatures. So the first game was all cardboard standees and featured amazing artwork, but this is going to be plastic miniatures of all of that amazing artwork. So we'll see how they adapted it. So you can see it a little bit better. Let's get the plastic off and we'll take a look at the back. So this is by King Raccoon Games. You can see that logo down here, barely. So King Raccoon Games, and I guess published by Gray Fox, or assisted by Gray Fox Games. All right, nice noisy plastic. And as you can see, 2 to 4 players, 14 and up, and 180 minutes. So that's a nice, honest 3-hour estimate of how long it takes to play, and it really looks like it. I mean, it's close to a Twilight Imperium level of complexity. So I can understand that estimate. So here's the quick cover again, and they've got some nice spot varnish, kind of UV on the moon there. So Tsukuyumi is the Shinto name for the god of the moon. And so in the Shinto mythology, so very, very ancient, like Japanese mythology, the god of the moon embarrassed or humiliated his wife, I guess, his partner, the goddess of the sun, by killing the goddess of food. So they're all kind of gods of creation. And so the goddess of the sun refused to ever be seen with Tsukuyumi ever again, so moved to the other side of the planet, and that gave us night and day. So that's kind of a little bit of the mythology, but it's also possible that the god of the moon was framed and didn't actually kill the goddess of food. And so that's included a little bit in this mythology, but this is actually a sci-fi fantasy setting. So let's take a look at the back so you can see. Man, this is a big box. So you can see it's not one of the kind of square. It's a lot wider than a square kind of board game standard box now, and it's much thicker too. So let's see. So on the back it has, "The world has not been the same since the moon fell to the earth and revealed its very core, the white dragon Tsukuyumi. Once a powerful, godly creature, after a long period of exile, he has returned to the earth to reclaim what was once taken from him. His return has plunged the world into chaos. Continents have been shattered, and humanity has been virtually wiped out. Tsukuyumi commands the destructive army of the Oni from the marshy bottom of the former Pacific." So the moon hit the earth and destroyed the Pacific Ocean, and it has been transformed into a miserable puddle. By upheaval of the land masses, they hunt down the last survivors of the old world and the newly made creatures brought into this world through the presence of Tsukuyumi. Evolved animals, man-machines, and the world through the presence of and hybrids and more. A fierce battle for the supremacy of the new world has begun. And the battle cry is everyone against everyone, but everyone against Tsukuyumi. So this is a strategy game, so you can tell a hex-based strategy game. So it removes the elements of luck, giving the players the challenge of winning the game based on their tactics and skill. So choose one of the 4 factions to conquer territories and battle opponents to earn the most victory points. So kind of a strategy, area control, kind of unit placement game. And you can see, so it looks like we're dealing with colored plastic by all the factions, but I've seen some gorgeous examples of people painting these miniatures already on the Board Game Geek, the entry for that. So we've got a rule book, a codex, initiative board, 4 faction sheets, 12 overview cards, 117 miniatures in this box. I guess there's some tiny ones. 111 playing cards, 10 punch boards, and 4 home zones. So this game contains the factions Nomads, Darkseed, Samurai, and Boar Lords. So, yeah, and then you can see some examples of Felix's art. But let's give you a little bit closer look at that, because I'm not sure how much we're going to see maybe in the rule book and things. But let's take a look quickly. This was also included with the Kickstarter. And this is, a lot of times when they do art books, it's a real kind of half-assed, fake value added kind of item that they throw in there. It's cheaply produced, and it doesn't have really that much art. It's just some JPEGs, stretched stretched to fill an art book. So a lot of times, especially for Kickstarters, this is done half-assed. This is not one of those books. This is an amazing collection of all of the kind of pre-production and design work that Felix did for this game. So this is a really nice thing to have, and you can tell. So it's a square-bound book, but when you look inside, the quality is really nice, thick gloss pages, I guess semi-gloss pages of the artwork. So let's just take a quick flip through this so you can see the designs of a lot of the factions and the setting, because this is amazingly inspirational creativity. I mean, there's so much kind of passion and original ideas kind of going on into this setting. It's really contagious. It kind of inspires you and makes you really want to dive deeper into this, and also, kind of inspires you creatively as well. So we'll just take a quick look at this setting. So there's a footprint on the moon. So here's the image of the moon having hit Earth and the destruction that it caused. So this is the state of the Earth now. And as you can see, the moon is like a cracked egg, where you can see the coils of the white dragon inside. So here's the cover image and another depiction of the moon having devastated Earth. And here's Tsukuyumi, the sketches of that original design. And this is very... Oh. Sorry, just a second. So that's the problem with doing this live is it's live and interrupted. So where were we here? So I wasn't swatted. That wasn't a visit from a SWAT team. All right. So I'll try to edit this back in here. So here's the sketches of the white dragon. And as you can see, very cinematic. A lot of the illustrations look like they're pre-production for animation. And actually, King Raccoon did produce a comic book. It was originally, I think it's only been done in German, and they may do a translated version as well as a role-playing game. So this setting is rich enough that you can do a lot with it, and so you can see from a lot of these images. So here's the Oni, the faction spawned by the white dragon, and yeah, very inspired by kind of Japanese imagery of the Oni. So these are kind of the demons or ogres of Japanese myth. And here's some color, finished color version. So this is a lot of the work that the miniatures are going to be based on. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to look. But you can see really, really great character designer and a real nice variety of styles. So yeah, I really want to see if they were able to get a lot of this look and these poses across in the miniatures themselves. So yeah, some great color work. So here's our first faction, the Cyber Samurai. So a high-tech Japanese faction. So yeah, really nice. I mean, this is such a well-produced and well-organized art book. So it gives you a lot of support to see like what went into the creation of a lot of these factions. And here's the Kampf Group 03. I don't know my German numbers, but like a mech group, a German-based. Like the soldiers that are the knights, kind of the armored knights that protect or were sent out to confront the Oni that were spawned by the moon. So very nice design for those. And here, look at this huge spread. So this is our next faction, the Dark Seed. So the Dark Seed is the insect. So the moon hitting the earth spawned a lot of evil creatures, and one of them was the Dark Seed. So this queen insect spawned this giant hive, and so we have an insect faction as well. So really great designs and real nice variation. And then the Nomads. So in the Pacific Ocean was the USS Nomad, which, as you can see, was completely capsized and is sitting on the bottom of the empty ocean. So this is the crew, kind of the North American military crew of that carrier. So nice, yeah. American military inspired faction. And here's our next. These are really great. I mean, look at how I just love the layouts for these. And I think a lot of these were probably done as the pre-production. There's an animated trailer that supported a couple of these projects, and so I think some of this was done as pre-production for the animated trailer. The Boar Lords. So the Boar Lords are like a feral pig tribe, or like a wild boar tribe. So very post-apocalypse, because they're covered with street signs and everything. But and very matriarchal. I think it's a the boar mothers are the so you'll see a lot of topless anthropomorphic boars, and a little idea of the design of their land. Children of the Lion, which is an African inspired faction, so a lot of kind of warlord looking characters, and everything has like a nice fantasy post-apocalyptic sci-fi look. A lot of animals. So yeah, really fun designs. The Lords of the Lost Sea. So this is where the imagination really gets nuts. So this is one of the additional factions. So this one is not included in the box. I think we saw the 4 that are included. So this was part of an expansion, the Lords of the Lost Sea. So these are land-based whales, or somewhat mobile whales. So you have these whale designs, but they have multiple flippers, and so they're kind of crawling on land. And I love the harpoons and everything stuck into the scarred and damaged heads. So white whales and the Whale King and Oscar the giant octopus. And the Fireborn, because it was a dragon that hatched from the moon, it spawned another race of dragons or group of dragons. So this is also an expansion faction, and they have their own rules. I think they all kind of include their own rules. So they can devastate, they can burn hexes, and that's the another, like a new mechanic that gets added to the game if you play this faction. And the Sentinels. So another Asian inspired. So these are anthropomorphic pandas, as you can see, and another kind of Asian mythology inspired, I guess most specifically Japanese mythology inspired panda class. If World of Warcraft can do it, why can't Felix? And I like the tiger riding panda. That's got to be a miniature in there, I really hope. And then here's a preview of additional factions. So the Laser Vikings, and there's a clown faction as well, the Moon Circus Clowns. So this is a setting that keeps being expanded, and then there's already in production additional expansions and new factions for this game. So Felix is really putting in a ton of work and creativity. And like I said, they did a German version of an RPG setting, so you can actually play as Sentinels in this setting in an RPG. And there's the man himself. So and Felix previously was working on the so he has Opus Anima in 2008 is an RPG. So he has RPG experience. So the setting may not be, like the book itself may not be a bad book. So this is a little bit of inspiration to see what we're going to look at inside. And I just the creativity behind this setting is just really inspiring. I love to see everything that they did for it. All right. So let's see if we can get this open. Sorry, the box is a little bit big for the camera. Got to get the camera almost on the ceiling to get this box. Wow, so nice heavy box. Yeah, it needs to be for the size of this game. In a plastic bag for something that we're going to need, I'm sure. All right. Oh, nice. So they even give you suggestions about using the kind of the hot water trick to straighten out your miniatures if any of them came out bent. Yeah, because a lot of the times, depending on the conditions and like what season they're doing the casting and stuff, and the conditions of the factory, if they pull the miniatures out of the molds too fast, and they're too hot, if they cool down, if they don't cool down slowly, then you get a lot of weird warping. And so the way to fix that is the plastic has a memory. And so if you reheat them to a decent level with some hot water, even like a hot air gun or a blow dryer, it'll just kind of snap back into what it was first cast as. But a lot of that bending comes from just like mistakes in manufacturing. So here's a quick look at the rules. Wow, yeah, so the miniatures look like they're gonna look pretty good just from these images. And it's all, yeah, colored plastic. So there's the factions, the quick start rules. It looks like a lot of counters, and here's our hexes. Yeah, so inside the Cyber Samurai, Darkseid, and Nomads and Boar Lords. So there are, 3 more factions. Yeah, so there is a 6-player expansion. So this is 2 to 4 players, and then there's a 2 to 6 player expansion that adds the additional factions and some more hexes and everything, because I think they need to expand the game so that you're not like all on top of each other if you're going to play up to 6 players. And so just the actions and movements and rules of engagement. So how combat works, how the Oni work. So I don't know if the Oni are playable or if they're just kind of an AI faction. That's so they already are talking about 3 to 5 players, 2-player game. Oh, that's right. And there's a set of cards specifically for the 2-player game. So that might change the rules a little bit because you're fighting over a lot more spaces and there's a lot less to go around. So there's the Oni and all the cards. Event cards, starting advantages, all the faction events, so the differences in how they play and what happens. Oh, there's Children of the Lion, Sentinels, Lords of the Sea. Oh, so they do. So in the book, these are the expansion. So they're not included in this box, but in the rule book, I like when they do that. They give you every possible faction that was made for the game so far. Whoa, there's some close-ups of the miniatures. So each of the Oni seem to have their own, yeah, they have their own placement, their own special rules. Wow, that's great. Nice, and a little overview of all the symbols and how victory points work and our phases. Nice. Ah, so here's the codex. So the codex is going to give you faction sheets, unit cards, and then break everything down. Oh, so this explains you how the information that's on the faction sheet, and then each of the types of cards and what they all mean. So probably like good explanation, because I think they produced this game both in German and English, so they did a double explanation. So maybe on the cards themselves they rely a lot more on symbols. So like another game we looked at, they're going to give you some explanation of the mechanics in the language you're going to be playing it in, so you don't have to guess at the symbols. Yeah, and so here's all the descriptions of factions and what their abilities mean. Oh, nice! And here's a little sneak at what their comics look like. So they did produce a hardcover, stitched hardcover of comics in this setting. That was German only, I think, for their Kickstarter, but that may end up getting translated as well. Yeah, so I really like, I really like the art style and what they did with this setting. So here's a preview of the comics, and there's an iconic image. So that is, so the mat that I'm actually doing this on, I'm on the kind of blank side of it, and the other side of it is this image, but it was oriented horizontally, and I couldn't fit it on the table that I'm using. Oh, nice. So the story of the nomads. Oh, and with comics. Oh, so each faction. Oh, I think I totally missed that. So the Cyber Samurai get a little backstory. The nomads get a little backstory with comics. That's a great idea. The Boar Lords get some backstory with a comic. That's nice. So yeah, you see each of the factions in the world with a little comic explanation. Nice. And how they are kind of related in the setting, how they are perceived, or how the perspective of the other factions, their relation to them. Wow, good stuff. Nice. Yeah, that's a great idea to, get people into the setting, is actually give them a kind of a lore book and an introduction to each of the factions. Nice. So here's our dashboards, or our faction cards, I think. Nice. Yeah, so here's... Oh, these are just general references. So overviews of the victory points and the different symbols. So here's our Cyber Samurai, the Dark Seed, Boar Lords, and the Nomads. So these are a little thin, and they're not heavily coated, but they'll hold up. You might want to protect them a little bit. But yeah, well designed though. Very readable, and they list all your units on there. Nice. And here, whoa, here's our big unit cards. Nice. So there's all the Boar Lords. So plus 10, plus 10, plus 10. Times 2, times 2, times 2. Nice. So each of the factions have their own cards and give the stats for each of the miniatures. And the Oni as well. So I don't think the Oni are playable, because it doesn't look like they have a... or maybe you can play them as a evil faction. So this is nice. They include... So it looks like we're going to have a ton of tokens and things. So we've got bags then. That's a nice thing for them to do, as opposed to making you fend for yourself and find your own. So let's take a look at the cards and see how much. Oh, there is English on the cards. So they didn't do a whole symbol-based thing. Yeah, so these are nice and readable. Yeah, they're not super thick. Definitely sleeving them is probably a good idea. But yeah, very easy to read. So there's uplink cards. And these look like different events. And yeah, and everything is color-coded by faction, so that makes it nice and easy to tell them apart and see what's for you. These look like events. Yeah. Oh, nice. Looks like we got one more deck of these. So there we go. Explanation of setup. So 2 players setup. Oh yeah, lots of sets for just 2 players. So I guess that would change the game a bit. So 3 or more is probably going to be a good number to play. So you actually, yeah. So they have you separate out the action cards for only 2 players. So here's all of the actions, and then here's faction-specific, more faction-specific abilities. So here's all of our cards. So I'm curious how things will, or if things will go back in here, if there's a tray or how they sorted things out. Because previously they only had standees, so maybe it wasn't so important to be able to restore everything. So here's our hexes and the ones that are affected. So here, this looks like the center for the Cyber Samurai. Nice. Yeah, good artwork though for the different hexes. Everything is nice and clear. Yeah, these are nice and thick. The tiles for the hexes, it doesn't look like they'll be warping or anything. Nicely done art. And here's more. So yeah, you can see how these will look against the this. So this is the kind of deluxe mat that they made for this, and I think we're gonna have another board. We may, or I'm not sure. Maybe you'll just lay these out without a board. There may not be a board in here because it's all hex based. Or like Mage Knight style. Nice, the nest. So yeah, each of the kind of the home squares of your factions, and they've got a nice color border on them, so you can see. Oh, and it looks like there's a destroyed version. Oh, that's great. So yeah, here's the nest and the USS Nomad, and here's the burning wreckage of both of those. Great. So lots of sheets of hexes. Yeah, so it looks like destroyed or ravaged hexes, and then plain, and some of them, yeah, look like they have some geographical features and things. Nice. Yeah, the artwork is nice. It's a nice, like, digital painted style. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so everything is 2-sided. Oh, and here's some radiation. And some sort of dragon corruption. Yeah, and there's more. Yeah, so faction, these triangles with the faction marks on them. Nice. Yeah, a nice big tiles. Ah, here's connected. Set of 3 and victory points. Ah, yeah, there we go. So a track for victory points. Wow, lots of tokens. Oh, here we go. We got some miniature trays just below. So more tokens. Yeah, nice big readable tokens. Yeah, there's nothing. That's a tiny one, but other than that, everything's nice and big. And nice and heavy because the hex card is nice and heavy, so these tokens are going to be great. Wow, yeah, really, there's some tiny ones because there's some tiny units, but, and again, a nice tray cover. Wow, we've been looking at with how they've been doing these minis recently. This is nice, and there's no tape on here, is there? Nope, just the corners. Yeah, that's been really nice. that everything's protected, because they do, even if they're not, you know, they're just kind of sitting in here. So if you get a box shaking around, they're going to be falling out. So here's our dark seed. Wow. Dark seed insects. Yeah, they look good. And here's our nomads. So it looks like we've got multiple, some of the units, maybe just some of the generic units. We've got multiple sculpts of, these are all the same. No, it's at least two. Yeah, at least two of each. There's the dog with his combat helmet on. Wow. Yeah, so here I'll just give you a quick look in the tray. So decent, yeah, really decent detail. They did a nice job, like reproducing the poses from the artwork and everything. I think the detail is definitely decent. The painted versions, I was surprised how nice they look. Yeah, it's a little bit flexible plastic. Not bad. Yeah, the level of board game miniatures is getting crazy. I think this is a pretty faithful adaptation. It's not generic, like it definitely has the look of Felix's work. So that's really nice. Yeah, so I got these guys, and then here's the the rest of the insects at the bottom there. Nice. And so because they're color coded, you can play with them right out. Not everything is, you're not depending on those little colored rings, and not everything is a gray plastic. And here's our Oni. So yeah, I think you do have, those cards might be like reinforcement cards, because you do have multiples of each of them. And yeah, really nice. The bigger ones have even more detail. A little bit of shiny plastic, so you're not seeing the detail super well because of the gloss of the plastic. But once you primed these, you could really see the detail in the sculpt. So here's all of our Oni. Yeah, really did well. So you got multiples, yeah, multiples of each sculpt. So they did show the units. Yeah, interesting. So they did show the units. So I guess you can have multiple instances of the same, probably according to some economy in the game. But yeah, well done. All right, and our last two factions here. Whoa. Oh, this tray is much wider. So our Boar Lords are green, and our Cyber Samurai are red. Wow. Yeah, so here's a little bit, like, that's nice that they give you the advice to do some corrections. A little bit of correction. But it's not too flexible a plastic, so it seems like it should snap back pretty well with just a little bit of hot water. Yeah, just a little off. And it's, yeah, with things this fine and with production, you know, the way they have to do it, they're under time constraints. They're pulling things quickly out of molds. Whereas if they waited a little bit more, there'd be less of this warping. But I'm sure the thousands of miniatures they have to do every hour don't permit. Wow, the Boar Lords have some great miniatures, great detail. Nice. Yeah, so here's a little close-up of everything. So yeah, the artwork is represented really well. I'm glad they got some good sculptors to work on everything. And we'll take a look at, whoa, take a look at sorry, the boar's upside down. I like the little pig. And then in the artwork there was a little like Mowgli-looking boy that was with the Boar Lords, maybe raised by wild pigs character. Nice. So that is all of the miniatures. Yeah, so no boards, so just all hexes. So all hex based. So I'll stick these back in here. So this is the base game, but that is not all that was involved in this Kickstarter, obviously. Is it ever? Is there ever only just a base game? So let me just quickly kind of tuck sorry, the microphone is right there. Tuck these back in. Oh, so here is the additional cards too that they included. I'll open these and kind of put these together. They included, I think they're just called 2-player cards, so they're giving you character names. Interesting. Yeah, so maybe these are, yeah, maybe specific to the units in each of the factions. Nice. Yeah, so there's either starting advantage or a trait or a goal for each of these from the factions. Yeah. Oh, but this is everything, though. This is all the factions, including the additional ones, because there's the whales and the dragons. Nice. Yeah, so these definitely feel like they could be, they should be sleeved. They're a little thin, but the artwork is produced well, and the design is nice. All right. So maybe not this, but let's tuck these back in here so we can keep everything sorted and move on. I guess the next thing maybe we should look at is the mystery box. I think that's a kind of Kickstarter only looking box. So let's try that. Oh, I regret putting that microphone there. So that was just the base core game. And this is one of those mystery blank Kickstarter boxes. So let's see what they included in here. This is probably stretch goals that got unlocked that there just isn't room for, or they didn't plan for fitting in the core box. Oh yeah, Crispin, yeah, Stargrave is on its way. I think it's within a week I should be getting it. Yeah, it came out the end of April, but my I don't know where my book is shipping from, but they said first or second week of May. But yeah, we'll take a look at Stargrave, the sci-fi version of Frostgrave, as soon as that arrives. Oh, here we go. So here's some more Oni and a Defiler Hex. Nice. Excellent. Yeah, so here's more of the Oni. Oh, and these look like the Sentinel. Yeah, the Sentinel models. Wow. And then some, what are these guys? Some sort of egg pods or something. Oh no, these are raccoons. Oh, this is the raccoon holding the hand grenade. Yeah, this is from the Nomads. So maybe these are just additional figures, and these look like something probably, I don't know, dragon eggs. So maybe some smaller characters for each of the factions. Oh yeah, that looks like a pig. Yeah, so each of these are baby dragon, the raccoon with the hand grenade. Oh yeah, there's the Oscar, the little octopus for the whales. So these are all additional minis for each of the factions that were produced. They may have their own mechanics too. I'm sure they do. And yeah, so, and maybe some additional Oni sculpts. So these don't look particularly familiar. So yeah, maybe they did some additional sculpts. Yeah, a couple of those are unique. Wow. Nice. Some more. And then there's a pretty chunky Sentinel. Look at that. So look at that mech suit. Look at this double shields. Insane. Now that's heavy. That's a really heavy mini. Yeah. So like a little scrap robot. Yeah, these look very much like the Sentinels from the Kampf group. And what is in here? Yeah, always surprises. So you just have this plain box sitting around, wondering what is going on. Some more of, oh, so these look like tokens. Yeah, these look like things that are represent. Wow, there's guns and all sorts of things in here. I'm gonna have to double check what we unlocked during the campaign, but here is a bunch of little smaller details. So they may be things you can add to the miniatures, or some of them maybe look like they're tokens. They may replace cardboard tokens to represent, things that have spawned or activity in certain hexes. Yeah, so things that certain factions can do. But there's like a little cult handgun in here. Yeah, there's little tiny machine guns. I'll have to double check what that is. So these are definitely all stretch goals. So this is very Kickstarter style. And here's some cards for the Oni faction. If I can get into them. Alright. Yeah, some more kind of events. Yeah, specific to what's going on. Conquer the Moon Center with Oni. Oh, so yeah, you can play. Maybe this makes Oni playable, because it looks like, a lot of Oni-based cards. And actually, that's what the backs of them. So these are, Oni-specific, Oni missions, Dark Observer. So this may add game functionality to the Oni faction instead of just being an enemy. Something that's spawned by the dragon. I love this Defiler hex. So more, looks like aid and powers, abilities. Yeah. And here's goals and things. So these are more faction specific. Yeah, looks like it. Some more goal cards. Whale School. Yeah, so these definitely look faction dependent. Maybe give you a choice of goals and objectives to play. So that's just a single tray of additional minis. Wow, that is a lot of extra stuff. So this may make the Oni playable. Right, my hex is sliding off. All right, so I guess let's take a look at the expansion. So this is after the Moonfall. So this is the expansion with additional hexes that lets you play, as they say here, 2 to 6. Yeah, so this, I don't know how the game is still 180 minutes though, if you go up to 6 players. But this is the After Moonfall expansion, and get the plastic off so you can actually see the back a little bit better. But this just adds the additional factions playable, so they have to give you more hexes. Sorry, that mic placement is the worst today. So here we go. This expansion, After the Moonfall, is playable only with the base game. So after the moon fell, a fierce battle for supremacy took over Tsukuyumi. Tsukuyumi's new world broke out. His influence changed the people and the animals alike. So this is an expansion. Gets you up to 6 players, 2 additional factions, and you can take on in each battle. Additionally, it will bring 2 new area types and add a variety of positioning and new cards. Right, so there's another codex in here, maybe to introduce those new factions. 43 miniatures. That's right, we got the dragons, the whales, and oh, nice. 4 punch boards, 43 miniatures, and playing cards. All right, yeah, so this will add the Kampfgruppen and the Children of the Lion. But they're showing you the other. Wow, so there's a lot of factions. So this is 6. Yeah, there's a lot of factions to choose from. So up to 6 players, but more than 6 factions. So this is a bit thinner than the first book. So here's our codex that'll introduce our Kampfgruppe and the Lion faction, the Children of the Lion. So yeah, whoa, 6 players. Look at how many hexes that gets. Yeah, so here's the scale of the hexes. Yeah, I think that'll all fit on here. Wow. That gets pretty big. So the introduction of these two new factions. And their combat cards and the story. Nice, yeah. And they do additional. So the comics introduction for each of the factions. Oh, that's great. Nice. And then another overview. So yeah, we're looking at the same sort of boards, but with new hexes and new types of terrain and the destroyed versions of them. Nice. Yeah, so these are marked, yeah, specifically. So it's probably good to keep these separate because these are added mechanics and everything. So after the moonfall, so yeah, here's the home tiles for the Children of the Lion and the comp group, and their destroyed home tiles. That's great. And exact same quality. Yeah, they didn't. These seem to be printed at the same time, so you're getting the same look and feel. Oh, nice. And for all of those tokens, some more bags and more Oni. Wow, we have got Oni for days. Maybe you need them, I guess, because you need to be spawning them for everyone. So here's our dashboards for the Children of the Lion and the comp group. Nice, yeah, and then their different abilities, and then another overview card to add another player. Lots of bags. And yeah, so these, I think we've seen all of these sculpts before, so additional Oni. Nice, and here's our two new factions. Whoa, big animals. Oh yeah, and our cards as well. Yeah, so these must be reinforcement cards, or at least just stat cards for all, because they give you multiple versions of them. So it must be, yeah, when you can bring in and what you can bring in at the time. Nice, yeah, and we have additional units as well for each of them. Crazy. Yeah, and here's more. Oh, this is nice. They have there's room. I don't think we had that in the other box, but here's a room for sorting the hexes. But yeah, here's the new faction cards for the Children of the Lion. Events and things, yeah. So we'll keep everything in here because it will need to be separate. But yeah, these sentinels, yeah, they did a great job with these mechs. They're very cool. And it's nice there's so much art to support them, so you have a lot of inspiration for painting and things. And here's another double shielded sentinel. Oh yeah, I think we've seen, this was one of the first illustrations in the book. Nice. And look at the, yeah, especially the animals. Look at that.